Okay, hello. Alright, I'm doing this review for one reason only. It's because I noticed all of my music reviews and they're actually all pop music. And that's actually not what I listen to. I'm more of an all-around guy. I listen to all sorts of music, even country sometimes. And so I'm gonna try to branch out from pop, go into metal. And one of my favorite metal bands is actually The Sword. I mean, I'm not their biggest fan, but I actually do like the work. Um, Most people know The Sword by their song Freya, which was in Guitar Hero 2, and I'm not going to go too much into that song. But I'm going to review their latest album, and for warning, I'm actually not very good. I admit I'm not very good in reviewing the technical specs, such as guitar work, and I can do I can kind of review it, but I'm just strictly going from what I hear. I'm not going by technicality or anything like that. And technicality, as an amateur guitar player, the technicality is still pretty good. So I'm gonna, all right. So I'm gonna redeem myself a little bit there. So this album is actually The Sword's first concept album. Like, the first two were just, well, albums. This one actually has a story behind it, kind of like the Rush's, what's it called? Rush's 2112, which is actually one of my favorite albums. Um, Here, it actually kind of has a story similar to 2112, and like it's in the future, but I actually have some notes here. The story is the tale of an archer whose name is Aerith, okay, who has been cast out from his tribe on the planet Acheron. And Acheron sounds very similar, I just can't figure out where it's from right now. So the planet has gone through a tidal lock, so one half of it is cast in shadow and the other is burnt to a crisp by suns. Um, so one half is internal shadow, the other half is burning. And um, so when this happens, there's a battle, like a battle between good and evil break out somehow, and it follows this tale. And I wouldn't have actually guessed the story because when it's a metal album, honestly, I'm gonna say all you hear is na 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 na. Like, you're not actually listening to the lyrics. Like, you might be shouting out the lyrics, but only because you're pumped up and you don't care what you're saying. So, I actually watched the music video for like maybe the one single from this album, Tres Brujas or Tres Brujas, however you pronounce it. And it does follow the storyline where it is like in space and has the band in space, and it's showing the storyline. Like, I'm not gonna really spoil it, seeing as how I didn't really finish the video. And don't hang me for that. I'm probably gonna review the video later, but um, the songs themselves, if you don't really care about the storyline and you just want to hear songs, like, the album is pretty good. Like, it is aggressive. Oh, of course it's metal. It's metal. It's aggressive, and the sound. How can I explain it? The sword's sound is kind of like, it's a throwback to old stoner metal bands. Kind of like when I first heard them, they kind of sounded like what would happen if you took old school Metallica, Iron Maiden, and especially Black Sabbath. If you took those old bands together and put them together, then you would have The Sword. Like, they really are a throwback to those kinds of bands, and they also do something, especially something new to the sound. Like, if you notice, The Sword, every single Sword song, they emphasize the chords, the power chords. Like, I'm not a guitar expert, but most of their songs are like, they aren't really solo-ish. They don't really have a lot of solos in there, but they have a lot of power chords. Now, don't really have that much else to say, but from the songs here, I really like Acheron, Unearthing the Orb. Like, it starts out immediately, it immediately gets you pumped up, and Trey Brujas is probably my favorite song on the entire album. And near the end of the album, it sort of kind of loses the power. Like, you can only you can only keep that kind of aggressiveness for a short time before it kind of starts to dwindle. But it doesn't really dwindle that fast. Like, it still manages to keep its aggressiveness throughout the whole album, even when it starts to falter near, like, Night City, I think, or Warp Riders too. But overall, it's not a bad album. Like, I read an interview actually of one of the band members saying he felt that the fans were feeling betrayed, apparently, from, like, they were losing their kind of metal from, like, the last album. Like, they're trying to stay away from, I don't know what he was trying to talk about, but he was talking about alienating his fans. And for me, I'm not a big Sword fan. Like, I listen to his stuff, like, just, they still sound, you know, they still sound good, so I don't know what he's talking about. But he's an artist, he wants to produce the best for the fans, so maybe that's just the attitude. So, overall, I like the album. Like, I'd especially give Trey Brew. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it. Like, if someone wants to comment how you pronounce the title, go ahead and comment. I'm an idiot for that. Honestly, my favorite song of this album was Trey Brujas, and I made a video called the top 10 best hit songs of 2010, and if I hadn't made it strictly for the #1 Billboard hits, I would have put that song on my list, because it really is a good song. And yeah, so yeah, that's the Swords Warp Riders. It's a good song album. You probably won't get the story first time around because you're not focused to the story, which is actually a curse on most concept albums, metal bands who try to have a concept album. But the second time around, if you try to listen to the lyrics more carefully, you should be able to figure the story out, and you should be able to follow it. Then again, if you don't listen to the lyrics closely enough, all you're just gonna hear is all that stuff. And yeah, that's about it.